On the home front today, CNBC is taking a look at the state of the ultra-high-end real estate market. When the rich and powerful want to buy a beachfront estate, a Park Avenue mansion, or their own private island, they turn to these two experts. Dolly Lenz with Prudential Douglas Elliman in New York. Dolly is the #1 broker in the U.S. in terms of dollar amount sales. And Carlos Justo with Sol Sotheby's International Real Estate. He's in Miami with us today. And Diana Olick, of course, this is your beat. You're with us, too. So welcome all. Dolly, you know, I'd like to start with you if I could, because the last time we had you on, you kind of raised the red flag, saying things are happening at the high end of the market, cooling off a little bit. Has it changed at all? And you were right, by the way. Has it changed at all? What do you see?
I still see the high end of the market as cooled. However, interestingly, the below $6 million market has heated up tremendously.
Why do you think?
I think it's because people are afraid they won't be able to get financing, so they're buying something now before they're not able to get financing, because the rates, while the rates have lowered, the amount of down payment has gone up tremendously.
Interesting. Carlos, what are you seeing in your neck of the woods?
The very high end, a lot of activity. And I think it's just a combination of Miami being such a desirable location in the world today. There are a lot of people coming over here with the idea of taking advantage of the depressed property that will be available. However, once they come here, they end up, the very wealthy seem to be making moves and purchasing properties. We've had some of the highest activity ever in the last 5 years occurring in the 10 million plus range now in Miami. So it's really like we have two things. We have the oversupply of these condos that is news worldwide, and a lot of wealth coming to Miami that seems to be buying. And once, you know, very expensive properties.
And Diana, it's interesting because both of those cities, New York and Miami, very international in nature. All of this is combined with a weaker U.S. dollar, which makes some of these properties, even in the $10 million range, certainly look a lot more attractive than they did this time last year.
And that's what, you know, I talked to a lot of brokers in Miami when we were doing a story for Business Nation on their Miami condo market, and that's what they were saying precisely, was that the really high-end condos were not being hit so much as the lower ones because there was a lot of international investment, and in fact they were depending on international investors in the Miami condo market to save that market, especially up on the high end. But as we can't say enough times, real estate is all local, local. And, you know, I talked to a broker in Boston just yesterday who said the high end is still doing very well. But then we spoke with a broker in Hilton Head, and he was saying that the high end is really coming down. We're talking waterfront property. He said down 10 to 15%. He gave us an example of one 4-bedroom beachfront mansion that had dropped over $1 million in just the last month. So he's saying, you know, it depends on where you are, and it depends on the price point of your market. You look at New York and Miami, perhaps they're much higher price points than some of the rest of the country.
Dolly and Carlos, we want to show some of your listings, if we could. Dolly, I'm fascinated. Andrew Lloyd Webber's home, which is a Fifth Avenue address, is on the market, and the price tag is $22.5 million, and it's being very actively viewed.
It's being very actively viewed. I mean, of course, the provenance doesn't hurt. The fact that the designer is the same designer for the British royal family and only takes on Lord Andrew, as well as the British royal family, doesn't hurt. And the fact that it's very well priced doesn't hurt. You know, today it's all about pricing. It always is, but more so today than ever. So
when you say that it's well priced, meaning what would this have gone for maybe last year at this time?
Probably over 30.
Really? Yeah. Interesting. So this is a good price point, makes it attractive.
Exactly.
Carlos, you have a beautiful beachfront estate that is up for a bid, and it's also seeing a lot of eyeballs, if you will. Tell us about it and how much you're asking for it.
This is a property on North Bay Road, 5050 North Bay Road, I believe. It's $18.9 million, and it's actually owned by a Frenchman, and we're negotiating a deal by an Englishman now that is buying it, that actually came into the marketplace wanting to spend $5 million and ultimately ended up buying a property closer to the $20 million range.
I was just going to say, did he come close to the asking? How much wiggle room, Carlos, is there on something like that in terms of price?
Well, it depends. Typically, I would say 10%, typically, but it could go as high as 20%. And another thing is really the high end will be affected in different cities depending on the supply and demand.
Right.
Miami, we don't have a lot of great supplies of great homes. Most people have to go and create their estate. So our prices are holding. You know, if a great product comes on the market done properly, there is it moves very quickly.
And Sue, let me just ask, I'd be interested to hear what Dolly has to say about the Hamptons, because, you know, over this past summer, even during the downturn, everyone was saying that the Hamptons were insulated because of the amount of supply out there. It's very limited, and that prices weren't coming down. What do you think about this coming summer, what we're going to see there?
Well, so far, just as an example, the rental market has been unbelievably hot. Everything is renting, renting, renting. I generally think that if the rental market is very hot, the sale market will lag because people are looking to rent instead of purchase. That's what I find, so we'll have to see.
Interesting. Thank you all very much. If we don't see you before the holidays, have a terrific holiday and a good new year.
Great jacket.
Thank you.